All right, I got the video going. I got my local audio going.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm going.
Yep, local going.
And now the Zencaster is also going. You're going to do 3, 2, 1, mark. That's 3, 2, 1, mark.
Beautiful. Anyone might think we were professionals.
And
no one would ever fucking think of that of us. The emails I have been sending back and forth with these people where they're just like, hey, like very professional email form, and I'm just like, yeah, it sounds good. Dude, I don't fucking, what do you want me to say? Just hi, warm regard. No, listen. I actually want to give one special shout out. I will not name my coworker, but I will name her husband, Tim. This unnamed coworker has told me that her husband, I believe, is an engineer and is a fan of the podcast. And she's like, you know how fucking disorienting it is to come downstairs at like 7:30 in the morning and just hear your voice. So Tim, hello.
Hi, Tim. Sorry to your wife that we are in your house.
Well, actually, we live in your walls. It's crazy how we all fit in there.
Yeah, we've been doing a sort of a parasite situation.
all right.
No love for that movie. Oh, whatever.
I
was there. I was just thinking about how that would look. Yeah, you know.
Mm.
Do you think we could all fit in the walls?
I wouldn't. Why are my walls bulging outwards? You know.
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you, Nova. Why are the walls so fat and ungainly? And I'm just like lying behind the wall.
Why is there a beer belly shaped series of cracks in my drywall?
Just like, that's very hurtful coming from the insulation.
All right. Hello, and welcome to Well, Scares Your Problem.
Fuck you.
That's right. It's the Halloween. It's the Halloween episode. I'm Justin Rosniak. Brackets scary. My pronouns are boo and yeah.
That's not bad, actually. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm evil November Kelly. You can tell because I didn't shave for like 5 minutes, and so I've grown a goatee. My pronouns are still she and her though, because Halloween is no excuse to misgender me. Yay Liam.
Yay Liam. Hey, so my name is Scary Liam McAnderson.
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
You could tell because I'm in your walls, collapsing your whatever, your house. And please don't say things about my body. It's very hurtful to me. My pronouns are he and him, and we used to do better at these Halloween episodes. I think with the haunted ships that everybody got mad at us for.
It's fine. We'll get it next year.
Fuck 'em,
I couldn't work something in like that for this one.
It's abandoned. Ooh, and your future is a Silverado 3500 squishing you like a bug. Ooh.
Do you want to work in a Yay Gareth or something along those lines?
Oh no,
I'm not doing Yay Gareth. I'm going. It's Gareth.
I will not steal Yay Liam from Yay Liam. I will never do that. Hello, it's scary. Scareth. I'm workshopping it.
Scareth Dennis. Yeah, that works.
Yeah. My pronouns are also he, him, because I'm not imaginative, and there's no way I can follow up Roz's scary noise. So I'm good with he,
I didn't
him.
know you could do a Wilhelm scream.
I could have I have a Wilhelm drop, but I don't have my drops up, so I'm disappointing you. I'm disappointing my mother. I'm disappointing everyone right now.
I think the Wilhelm scream is more of a you know.
Are you scared or are you orgasming, my guy?
Well, it's kind of both. I think it's both. Yeah.
The frightened orgasm, yeah.
I think there's like a B-side Wilhelm scream that pops up every now and then. When Ben Burt was really in a good mood, he gets like the B-side Wilhelm scream out, and that one's definitely a guy coming.
What you see on the screen in front of you is a spooky, empty concrete room.
On the scream in front of you.
Looks pretty fucking scary. I wouldn't like to be down here.
I watched Cloverfield yesterday for the first time in like 15 years since the movie came out. And I had a really embarrassing moment where I was like, well, they can't go down the tracks because the third rail's not electrified. And I was like, oh yeah, power got knocked out to the entire city. Like, they could probably go down the tracks.
The Cloverfield monster did not listen to your cinema sins, ding, and then ate you.
No, and would be right to do so. That movie is so, I love that they were just like, what if monster movie, but also we kind of tried to make it a bro this is not Kill James Bond. Moving on.
Well, it's not supposed to be like that. There's supposed to be trains in here, but there are not.
Yeah, you're telling me this isn't scary. This is depressing. This image,
That's
as we may find out. But there's also scary. Yeah, that's true.
Today we're going to talk about Cincinnati's ghost subway.
Nothing scarier than being in Cincinnati.
Built and never
being
used.
in Cleveland.
My two main sources on this were Cincinnati's Incomplete Subway. That's by Jacob R. Mecklenburg. Also check out his website, cincinnatitransit.net. And also the Cincinnati Subway History of Rapid Transit by Alan J. Singer. But before we talk about that, we have a new segment that we're going to have for a bit called Announcements.
Yeah. The announcements begin now.
Yes.
Do you like the concept of seeing us in person? I
Yeah.
hope you do. Do you live in the northeast corridor of the United Snakes of America? If you do, you can come and see us, brackets my physical presence pending, like entirely dependent on the whims of U.S. Customs and Immigration. But
Yes, we're doing a Acela Corridor, if you will.
Yeah. I also want to float the alternate name, which my wife vetoed, which was the 4 to 6 days of Sodom tour.
we will be appearing in a number of regional locations, such as New York City, Somerville, Massachusetts, which I understand is almost Boston, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Washington, District of Columbia.
Yes. There may be more tour dates right now. It's this is May 1st through 4th. Tickets should be on sale by the time this episode airs, so all those details will be down in the description. Please purchase our tickets because the agent set us up with some really big rooms.
Yeah, we got some massive venues. We are playing some impressive places. We are going to be on Times Square in New York City in Sony Hall. That's like 500 seats. If Customs and Immigration do not let me in the country to do this, I will become severely depressed. So, come and see us.
Please.
Come see the tour.
Our
We got some
Broadway
good episodes
debut?
lined up.
How could you miss it?
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna do Well, There's Your Problem on Ice, the musical Hamilton Broadway.
Yes.
Just continue. I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know if the floor's gonna hold that. But we sure are gonna try.
Welcome to Well, There's Your Problem in New York City, a hip opera. And it's gonna be the most annoying thing you've ever seen. No, it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be less annoying than Hamilton.
I cannot wait. It'd be cheaper than Hamilton too. I can't wait to do this, and I hope to see you all there in person. And yeah, we're gonna be doing like this whole run of shows. It's gonna be absolutely fantastic. So save the date for next summer 2025.
Yes. May 1st through 4th, as of now. We may add some dates in late April if we manage to fill up again these absolutely fucking huge rooms. Buy the tickets, please.
please, for fuck's sake. I
Absolutely
also
have to reiterate that.
Want to make a plug real quick for just 0.4 miles from Sony Hall is Audio 46 Headphone Superstore. So if you have made some sort of parasocial bond with me and want me to be happy, reach out to Audio 46.
Why?
Because I keep buying headphones from them and I don't know how to stop.
So it's not even like you just like their product, you like their store, and you want them to have a
I
little
wanted
walking.
that walking around money.
Okay. So it's not even SpawnCon. You're just like, this is a
preemptive.
thing that I like. Yeah.
It was the same thing with buysnooze.com, and we almost had an ad bad deal with them until we ran into some legal issues, but that's fine.
So like that the Achewood comic where one of the characters just sends Oreos money because he likes the product without.
Roz, that was the joke we were
Oh,
making.
that was the joke you were making. Okay.
Jesus.
Yeah. Well,
And if you want to hear
now
jokes
it's
this good, buy tickets at the link in the description. You can see them on a beautiful large stage. And listen, if we've really fucked up here, right, and we've booked too large a venue, you can be one of like a couple of people in like a massive venue while we do bits to you personally.
Exactly.
Yeah, if anyone watched the FIU Sam Houston State game yesterday, that would be October 22nd. You could be the one guy in the stands who was trying to block the field goal by waving his arms real good. I do want to say we wanted to use Accelerator, but we are terrified of running into Amtrak's lawyers.
Yeah, that's
because
not legal.
I don't
That's a
fuck
good
with
point.
government lawyers, man. Not again.
Well, non-specific Northeast corridor.
Northeast Corridor is the, oh, yo, you called the train that. That's not fucking trademark. Eat shit.
Yeah. This being the Halloween episode, it's the Northeast Horror Tour.
Horror tour, yeah.
that's
Horror
nice.
Tour. Northeast Horror Tour, yes.
We have a second announcement as well.
Do we?
Yeah, we
Yes.
did.
Oh,
fuck,
the
right, yes,
library. The library.
Yeah,
You know that
the
room
library.
that you go to learn how to read good? Well,
We are hosting with the Free Library of Philadelphia
Can't believe
a
they're letting us do this.
podcasting 101 session that will be at the main branch at the Parkway Central Library.
why did they let us do this?
I don't know.
Those who can do, those who can't teach, and brother, are we teaching? We will teach you all of the like deep secret knowledge that you need to start a podcast.
We'll have podcasting demonstrations. We'll have
the copy for this fucking thing is unbelievable, by the way.
Oh God, what have
really?
they said about her?
You
I
should
need
read
to see this.
You should read. Roz wrote the bios.
I wrote the
did
bios.
you?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
we're
hate
all typing right now.
bios.
I know you
But I
do.
did it.
Podcasting
That's
101.
Thursday, November 14th, 6 p.m. Literature Department of the Parkway Central Library. That's the one that Ben Franklin invented and put on the Parkway, even though it hadn't been built yet.
These are some great bios.
Yeah.
November Kelly is a prolific poster and podcaster and has at one point or another made all the world's worst people extremely mad.
Aw, that's nice. I like that.
It's not inaccurate.
So I'm just giggling at the bios. They're very good. Everyone, you should go and find that. You can find it at the freelibrary.org calendar with all the bios, all the information. It's all there. Go read about it.
Thanks to Roz for writing those. But yes, Thursday, November 14th.
Yeah, I should say this one I will not be physically present at due to the again U.S. Customs and Immigration. However, I will be there as a flat screen, which is my second favorite way of being present in a location.
Oh, I do want to say, tickets for this. I don't even think there's tickets for this. I think you can just show up.
Yeah, it is.
I believe you just show up. Yeah.
Just show
It
up.
is free. It is open to the public. You can just arrive.
Yes.
So yeah, please do that.
We can't stop you. It's a public venue.
I don't know if there will be jokes in this one. I think this one's just going to be like, here's how we did this, which...
There'll be jokes,
There'll
but
be a few
you
jokes.
aren't going to like them.
Yeah.
That's also the disclaimer for the fucking tour.
Don't
speaking of
don't
tour,
sell us short.
Have you seen our writer, which says we need the tech stack we actually need, and then also beer?
Well, just so long as we're not doing the like M&M's thing, you know?
Yeah.
No,
I suggested that.
I vetoed it.
I like the
Anyway.
M&M's thing 'cause it's like a check that they're actually reading the rider, so that if you've got like an allergy thing, they actually notice. I quite like the story behind the annoying M&M's thing. It's quite clever.
This was Justin's position, and then I was like, but we don't actually need them to read that much of it. We just need them to read the tech part.
No,
And
no,
if you get mad at us at Sony Hall, you can walk to the M&M's New York immersive experience.
That's a good point.
It's like a block and a half away.
Getting so
All right.
mad about this, you go and get M&M's.
Those are the announcements.
I
Now
didn't
we
have a
to
stinger
do
for this.
The goddamn news.
Yeah, have you ever seen a
fewer-
film called The Battle of Algiers?
fewer pixels in this image than I thought.
It's drone footage.
Israel has killed Yahya Sinwar, leader of Hamas, in a move that is sure to once and for all finally defeat Hamas.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to note here that every leader of Hamas in the last 20 years has died of being assassinated by Israel.
It doesn't seem to do very much.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the short term, sure, but as we have seen with this whole thing, all you're doing is creating the sort of groundwork for future insurgency.
I was about to say, this is the one more lane, bro, of Middle East geopolitics.
Yeah, actually, whatever
that's one part of the overlap between this genocide and city planning. The other is the city that they want to build on top of Gaza.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the situation there has definitely gotten uglier in the past couple weeks. I mean, we haven't recorded even since they killed Nasrallah by blowing up a whole block of apartment buildings, which is ridiculous. I mean, back in the early days of this conflict, the Israeli media was talking about proportional 9/11s. I don't know what that is in proportional 9/11s for Lebanon.
Many.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I highly, because the only way I have of relating to real life anymore is through movies, and because I keep seeing man-made horrors beyond my comprehension. I recommend watching Battle of Algiers, also Army of Secrets, just to give you a sense of the kind of of my feeling about this. Again, I will say that I am depending on the federal government of the United States of America to let me into the country. So
right, yeah.
Oh god, can you imagine whatever fucking ICE agent has to listen to this shit?
Yeah.
All right, agent. Here's 400 hours of podcasts. You have until Friday.
Do you think we can push the ICE agent who's detailed to listen to this left?
That's a good point. We're changing the system from within.
Yeah, it's people say to me, Nova, it's like you don't do any real activism. And it's like, excuse me, I make whatever federal agent is detailed to surveil me listen to hours and hours of leftist content. If that doesn't count as activism, what does?
It's a good question.
I don't even know what to say about Israel's stupid genocide anymore, because it just looks like they're going full steam ahead with it.
I do have one beef here, which is I think this might get me accused of being defeatist, right? But I think there's this kind of this vibe that people have, especially on the left and the US and the UK, to be like, well, none of this stuff actually matters, and it's I think you have to concede that this is what Israel winning and what Netanyahu winning within Israel looks like, right? It sucks, it's criminal, but I think there's this thing. I remember this tweet that was doing the thing recently about we've got to build coalition with traumatized IDF soldiers because really this stuff harms their interests materially too, and it's but it doesn't though. It might harm them in the short term, but or in the in the longer run. But it's no, this is what they want to do, and they're doing it successfully. And I think you can acknowledge that, and you can say, yeah, this is stuff that's going to plan for them. The kind of it hurts everybody. Oh, maybe, I guess, but ultimately, I do think you can lament that. Yeah, this is shit that is being prosecuted according to the way they want it to go, and has been very successful at that. I don't think that means that any kind of protest against it is futile or anything, but I do think that you have to kind of acknowledge that first,
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
And there does seem to have been some movement in some of the major media outlets to maybe highlight that maybe there were a few atrocities committed by Israel, maybe.
Yeah, but it's just a don't worry about that, right?
Yeah.
It always comes off to me as well, who can blame them, and it's just fuck me.
You run into the flat denial. Isaac Chotner's latest interview, for instance, or Danny Finkelstein on Twitter being like, well, despite this video of an Israeli drone targeting a child, an Israeli drone wouldn't target a child.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. If you Photoshop that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Or like all of these like X-rays of like children's heads with bullets in them have been photoshopped, because at this point you can just kind of, there's nothing left for it but to either say this is good and I like this if you're a defender of Israel, or to be like, well, it's very complicated, but ultimately I'm going to have to like deny the evidence in front of me, you know?
Yeah, it's all very depressing.
Yeah. No, I just every day I feel like I log onto Twitter and I see the worst thing that I've ever seen, and more so every day. So,
Yes.
and there I don't. Yeah, no, like I say, I don't want to get accused of defeatism, but I don't know what the fuck I can do about it, you know?
Yeah, you know,
I hear
it's
you.
Speaking of things which are bad, the weather was very bad recently.
Okay, sure. You didn't want to go with like Appalachia destroyed then?
No, it's so we had recently two hurricanes, Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. Hurricane Helene did this thing which is, you know, kind of wacky for a hurricane to do.
Blew
They
up
don't
Asheville.
usually do that. Yeah, which is just, you know, take a hard left turn right before hitting Florida and just go straight up and dump everything on western North Carolina.
Yeah, get a little quirky with it and just absolutely fucking decimate the holler. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Goes straight for Asheville.
Mm.
I
you
like
know, and this-
Asheville, man.
Yeah, Asheville's nice. I've never been. I want to go to Asheville.
We'll go to Asheville.
Yeah. But the so it dumped quite a few inches of rain into, you know, western North Carolina, which is obviously it's in the Appalachians. So, you know, all of this water is concentrated into the few rivers and streams there, resulting in pretty huge flooding. I mean, this is not as unprecedented as some people made it out to be. I mean, hurricanes have done this in living memory. It's just that this usually does not happen.
I mean, helpfully, we had an intervention from the kind of like libs of TikTok caucus to be like, you should, if you're a sort of a patriot, you should go to North Carolina and like shoot at FEMA or whatever, because they're trying to like, you know, do deep state globalism and like vaccinate your kids or whatever the fuck.
The guys working 28-hour days to reopen your infrastructure should be shot at.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
so we had that, and then we also had
unauthorized helicopter flights. That was a big one. Apparently, there's a lot of
there's a
lot
reason
of collisions or
there's
near
a reason
collisions.
they gave me an RPG 7, and I've been out for the last couple weeks, which is just simply to pave the way for the FEMA black choppers, which are coming for you, and you deserve it.
If when Trump wins the next election, and he does what he says he's going to do, which is get rid of FEMA, right? And also get rid of like the weather service apparently as well. Like it's all going.
Like Rick Santorum, that son of a bitch, trying to privatize the.
AccuWeather's been gearing up for that one for a while.
Yeah. Also, a quick interjection on my interjection, which is it's based that one of the NASA, like not NASA, sorry, what are they? NASA guys? No, what are they called? NOAA.
NOAA, yeah.
Yes, NOAA.
National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration.
One of the in the eye of one of the storms, or on the edge of the eye, they tossed out the ashes of one of their like dead former colleagues, presumably someone who's long retired and stuff. But that guy's wish was, I'll chuck my ashes into a hurricane while you're working your way through it. So that's based. Anyway, that's an interjection.
Cool.
That's pretty cool.
So when FEMA, NOAA, all these services go, and then there's the next one of these comes along, which, by the way, it will be happening with increasing frequency until our civilization collapses.
Frequency
what do you
and
think happens?
strength.
Yes, what happens? I suppose they just
all
wipe
of
your
the kind
ass
of
with
like
the corpses of your friends.
all of the like Black Rifle Coffee Company kind of patriots organized in community with each other, and definitely don't devolve into weird paranoid little cabals and just start shooting at each other.
They definitely
feels
we don't not to like kick anarchists in the teeth for no reason here, but to be like, yeah, in year 2024 to be like, nah, we don't need a like state capacity for any of this shit. Nah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
We're gonna trust some guys on motorcycles with the horse trailer to go raid the grocery store and then distribute.
I mean, if you want to kind of
possibly hoard it.
Anarchist critique of that, it's like interesting. So you would rather be paying the cops to like guard the empty grocery store and its groceries from people, but like equally to this in Appalachia, we also had the Florida hurricane that Caroline Calloway survived, which
unfortunate.
Yeah, F's in the chat.
Hurricane Milton was more recent. That was bearing down on Tampa Bay. The Tampa Bay area has always been uniquely positioned to be completely destroyed by a hurricane. And once again, the hurricane got near Tampa Bay and the giant atmospheric pinball bumper went boop.
There is
just veered off at the last second.
Special providence that protects children, drunks, and the United States of America.
Yes.
And
brackets Tampa Bay.
Yes, yeah, the most United States of America bit of the United States of America. I sort of believe that. And yeah, influencer and scammer Caroline Calloway like tanked a hurricane in her apartment building, which is like beachfront in Sarasota. And yeah, this was. I remember this one chiefly as being a kind of like empire of like social media grifts, like guys trying to win money off of like streamers by like riding the hurricane out in like a sort of, paddle boat or whatever the fuck.
A lot of people misunderstanding how storm surge works because Tampa Bay got a negative storm surge and everyone assumed that meant a tsunami was going to wipe it out. No, the water just sort of gently flooded back in eventually.
I think the best thing we can say here is to do our PSA, which is do not touch the poop, right? Floodwater. Floodwater is mostly full of sewage, and God knows what else. Don't fuck around in it because you will get very sick.
Follow evacuation orders. Even if you are convinced of God's providence for Tampa Bay, I would still not ride out the storm in a boat.
Yeah, you do as the FEMA black helicopters tell you,
Yeah.
You guys see Cloverfield, right? Like, I will say, that's the only time I'll ever say it. God bless the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's it. So that's all you get.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's sort of horrifying, right? With the private helicopter flights being, what they are. People saying, oh, the weird. So when we're recording this, we are 13 days from the election in the United States.
Oh God, is it that little? Christ.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah,
and this is how they're campaigning? What the fuck?
Yeah. I mean,
no one's seen Kamala Harris. Trump is having PTSD meltdowns. This is the lowest energy. It's like looking at the end of an ultra marathon where like two guys who are 90% blister like stumble across the finish line. What the fuck?
You're not wrong. And I don't know. I just wanted to just like express my frustrations that we can't fucking do shit in this country.
I genuinely, how does it feel like Joe Biden would have more energy than this? Like
because the Labour Party got involved, and so they told them to switch off all that energy and make it disappear.
I will say that there's a terrific image of Joe Biden and I think DeSantis in Florida, and Joe Biden is talking to people who had survived a storm, and the man he's talking to is wearing a shirt that just says like cracker on it, and Rob DeSantis is like pouting to the side.
Magnificent.
It's a great picture. I have one correction to make, which is it's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. I regret the error or whatever. And also, if you're ever interested in signing up for USAA and you served in the NOAA Uniformed Corps, which is a real thing that exists, you can sneak in to USAA through the back door doing that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Plus they get the coolest combination of uniforms. It's like Navy dress blues and Coast Guard working uniform. So yeah.
We love our coasties here.
We love militarizing our public services sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes.
I think the commissioned officer corps of NOAA is pretty interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Same as the public health corps. Like, it's,
right.
Yeah.
You can. That's how you sneak into USAA, through the back door. You're just like, yeah, I served in a.
Yeah, and as someone who likes a uniform, you know, I think that maybe we should do more bureaucrat uniforms. You know, I think that could be cool.
I wonder if there's a nation who gave us a model for what that might look like.
If only I had a drop of that nation's national anthem with which to end the news segment.
We could have the Navy in charge of the railroads for some reason.
Oh, God.
Oh, no. Hey, we're all still alive.
Anyway, that was the goddamn news, brackets spooky.
You see, you prime me with news, and I just cut off whatever you say after that.
Anyway, here's something spooky. That's right, folks. It's Cincinnati.
Ah!
Oh, no.
Ah! It's Cincinnati, the Queen City, right?
I mean, I don't know if you can be saying that if this is that white boy, but like, sure.
So
Liam's done. He's done.
Woo! Cincinnati, it's a city. It's on the Ohio River system, right? It was incorporated in 1819. Lots of German immigrants immigrated in the 1840s. That coincided with the opening of the Miami and Erie Canal, which we're going to talk about later.
That's why I was Erie. There is something of that. It's good, Erie. Yeah, no, that was good. There is something of the Rhineland about the way they've built this city. That's 4 very fetching bridges we can see in this little postcard.
America's Cologne.
Yeah,
well,
or Dusseldorf.
I mean,
Let's go Dusseldorf, actually.
You know, and we'll talk more about this later, but the Miami and Erie Canal was actually referenced by the German immigrants. They just jokingly called it the Rhine. And then there's a neighborhood that was past the canal. It's still there, called Over the Rhine,
which is a beautiful neighborhood.
Troubling how many Americans are just crypto Germans.
Yes.
I completely agree. And I will have my revenge in this life and the next.
Like many towns on the Ohio River, it's built entirely on a floodplain, and it's extremely hemmed in by hills. Nonetheless, the city grew very, very rapidly. 115,000 people by 1850, making it one of the largest cities in the country. It was a major stop on the Underground Railroad because, you know, it's full of Germans, and most of the Germans did not like slavery, and it was just north of the Mason-Dixon line. On the other side of the river here, that's Covington, Kentucky. That's where those horrible teenagers are from a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah. I remember. Sure.
Yeah, from the fake Catholic school.
Yeah.
Quote unquote Catholic. Quote unquote school.
Yeah, the trajectory of American Catholicism. We'll do. That sounds like a bonus episode, to be honest. We already did Protestantism.
We're doing Catholicism. I have it outlined somewhere.
Sedevacantists are just Protestants.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Dude, a lot of American Catholics are just, trad Caths, not American Catholics necessarily, but trad Caths are just Protestants. You want to be a prod so fucking bad. And you deserve the same fate that, no. Car bombing.
although I will say that, like, I think...
Seamus, the fertilizer.
Much of this is on the American church itself, and it's like the whole fucking... Like, ecclesiastical hierarchy has positioned itself this way on purpose to try and make those people like that. But anyway.
Yeah. They got the Roebling suspension bridge in 1866. This thing was absolutely massive for its time. It's still there.
Suspension bridge.
It's gorgeous. I like it.
It's very pretty.
Yeah, well, we need a better picture of it, but yeah, it is very pretty. Electric streetcars were introduced in 1889. They got lots of fantastic Italianate architecture. They got this really cool music hall. But the big thing they have in Cincinnati is hills.
The Bengals.
It's the Midwest's Pittsburgh, kind of.
It is. Cincinnati is a kind of Pittsburgh, I would say.
Are you going to do the fucking insane Pittsburgh topography shit again?
You date certain cities are Pittsburghs,
and you just learn. You learn whether you like it or not about the hills. I'm sorry.
He always does this.
I'm sorry for like betraying Philadelphia by knowing about this. Also, Cincinnati named for Cincinnatus or Cincinnatus, the like Roman like briefly dictator statesman who like famously like gave up power to go back to his plow.
He seized absolute power as dictator, and then when he did what he had to do, he was like, all right, I'm gonna go back to the farm now.
Yeah, it's how the system of dictatorship was supposed to work as like an emergency powers thing. Washington got compared to him a lot. There was a weird quasi-Illuminati thing called the Society of the Cincinnatus.
Yes.
Yeah, still around, I think.
Yeah, they were real weird. There was a fear that they were gonna be a sort of like an inheritance base. Like that's how power would work in the new United States.
Yeah, the sort of like anti-Masonic stuff with all the like know-nothings. I mean, the thing is, it always interests me how in early American history, how close on a number of occasions the U.S. got to having a king. Like, constitution or no, it was within spitting distance a few times, and like fucking James Tyler was like sort of like definitely had some like kingly pretensions, as did Richard Nixon, weirdly enough. Anyway.
Ooh.
Yeah, John Adams did not do an especially great job in the framing with that stuff. I do recommend, I believe it's McCullough's biography of John Adams, or you can just watch the miniseries with oh god, not what's this fucking name, Paul Giamatti, which is actually pretty good.
Ooh,
noted.
Yeah, it was called Billions.
It was not called Billions, you asshole.
Yeah, Paul Giamatti in a powdered wig with like a French courtesan walking over his back.
You guys saw Sideways, right? All right, let's do this.
So,
wait, Raj, we cannot move past. There was a funicular on the last page. We didn't even mention it. I know that you put
the same funiculars on the next page.
I know, but this one doesn't have the track in it, so I'm less interested.
Yeah, it does.
Permanent white moment.
You're right. It does. It's got the track for the track. Wait a minute. Yes. This is a P-way for P-way.
Yes,
did we do this whole episode for me? Oh, now I'm happy. Okay, everyone's forgiven. Yeah. I'm happy now.
We're gonna talk about some train shit here in a moment.
My career in life.
Weird train shit.
My career in life.
We're gonna try and break the not a metro chart.
Yeah.
So there's lots of hills in Cincinnati. That means it's unable to sprawl like a St. Louis or a Chicago. So it built up. They got really dense really fast. It eventually lost out to other major cities due to the topology. The gateway to the west turns out to be St. Louis and not Cincinnati because its location naturally restricts locations of things like railroad yards, large factories. They tried to build a harbor. It didn't work. And the question was, okay, how do you solve this? There's a lot of flat land just past the hills. They tried getting out there using electric streetcars. Getting over the hill is very difficult. There were a number of inclines like this one in Cincinnati, which were built to take the streetcar over the hill.
Extremely cool.
Yeah.
Also, just nice. Like topography makes a nice city. Like I know lots of US cities don't exploit topography because they just needed to get big quick.
Sorry, I have one note here, which is that I'm doing flat viewings at the moment, and if you've had to walk up Gardner Street or down Gardner Street in the west end of Glasgow when it is covered in wet leaves, you take your life in your fucking hands.
You will be killed.
Yes,
you will be killed. Yeah.
That's fair. Should have installed a funicular.
I mean, honestly, true. Yeah.
Probably used to have a funicular, and they got rid of it, just like this one. They got rid of
ski slope.
Yeah.
I've genuinely fallen on my ass walking down the hill from the uni before. So
brutal.
Yeah. Worse is because it was next to the uni. Teens saw me and laughed.
That's over. That is worse than death.
You're just like, I wish I'd hit my head. Like,
I wish I were dead. Yeah, no, I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Now the other thing you could use if electric streetcars weren't enough to get farther into the flatter areas north of the city was this wonderful technology called the interurban.
Yeah.
Hooray!
Hey, it's the era of those.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Miles.
I'm
So-
Miles.
What is an interurban?
Is it-
Generally speaking,
Oh, I had a smart ass answer, but go ahead.
oh,
No, I
you
have
can
the
do it.
smart ass answer, and I have it in a graphic form.
I like the little chuckle there.
generally
I'm enjoying
speaking,
myself.
we're talking about a lightly built electric railroad that runs between urban areas and runs on streets within urban areas. They focused mainly on passenger service and used essentially what were larger and faster streetcars.
Yeah, they're really cool. I really like them.
Oh yeah, I love me a good interurban.
Mm.
Me too.
Every rule has an exception, and on interurbans, exceptions were the rule. Their
Yeah.
main unifying characteristic is that all of them are weird. The purpose of these things is to try and break Garrett's metro flowchart.
Yes, precisely. Because
Yeah.
they're all trams, actually. But let's see what happens.
Uh-huh.
So here's a few examples. This is Washington and Old Dominion Railroad number 26. They built this thing from scratch out of a boxcar, which I think is funny.
Holes.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
This ran from Alexandria out to Bluefield, Virginia. That's something like 78 miles, I think.
What?
Um,
There's some miles.
Yeah,
In a
here's
streetcar.
the Westchester Traction Company here.
Yes.
This is the 104 trolley that ran out to Westchester, Pennsylvania from 69th Street Terminal in Upper Darby.
Nice.
You can see here on sort of this crappy grass track adjacent to the Westchester Pike, which was considerably smaller back then. They still went very fast. The track was just not good.
This thing is screaming along on grass track an inch away from your Ford Model T.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it will win.
Here we have the Chicago Aurora and Elgin, which is sort of the reverse of that. Extremely high quality right away, powered by third rail as opposed to overhead line. The schedule on this interurban was still faster than driving the same distances today.
Oh my god!
And
Why did return with a V? Also, wait, do you guys say Elgin rather than Elgin? Interesting. I
believe
noted.
so, yes.
Americans
you'll be
don't know
right.
how to pronounce anything.
Yeah.
It's always funny when, because Elgin's definitely Elgin, but maybe the Scots who came over on the boat got lost because that when the Scottish people sent people over the Atlantic, we had a habit of sinking those ships. So, so that's fair. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
From
I
the
like
nation that brought you Cairo, Illinois.
Yeah. This particular
Versailles, Pennsylvania. Yep.
Versailles, Pennsylvania. That's a good one.
or
this
Bryn
particular
Mawr, which also weirds me out.
Interurban, I think the CA&E will be a future episode. This was infamously after they started to lose money because part of the tracks were relocated to build a highway. They were much slower.
Boo.
They were actually they actually abandoned the passenger service with no notice at noon on July 3rd, 1957. And a bunch of people who were waiting for the train that afternoon got a nasty surprise.
God.
Like, you can't get home now.
Yes,
Sorry.
exactly.
Walk.
But without the sorry bit. Yeah, exactly.
We apologize to passengers for the inconvenience, but this is now a buy a car replacement service.
Exactly. Most famously, probably the Pacific Electric here, as seen in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The cars we're showing here are the blimp cars. Why are they called blimps? The answer
Are we
is
supposed to know
because
an answer to that? No, I don't. I have no idea why.
No, I have no idea.
much like blimps, they're fucking huge.
But do not body shame these cars.
They're bigger than some mainline passenger train cars, right? They would just run three of them coupled together in the street in mixed traffic with cars.
This is the proper sort of way things should be. Is that the train should be the natural apex predator, and cars should be afraid of it.
And if none of this situation where a tram when I remember the Sheffield tram got extended and just the day of the day all the press people had just gone home and then the first tram just crashed into a car on a level crossing. It's not a level crossing, just where it's just no, the car should always lose. They should always.
Yes.
Those videos of like Weymouth when the trains, like, they just had full size like class 37s going round the corners on the tram track that was the mainline railway that went to the harbour. And yeah, if people got their cars in the way, the 37 would just shunt it out of the way. No bother. Bring that back.
Interurbans also handled freight. Here's this very small but extremely mighty box cab on the Waterloo, Cedar Falls, and Northern.
I love everything about that image.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gorgeous image. Lovely black and white.
Yeah.
The image is stunning. The infrastructure is stunning. Just that bridge is beautiful, low arch. Oh, just gorgeous. Absolutely fantastic.
This is the thing that makes me angriest about this is that this is a weird real image that only the like thin red line of like FOMA autism is holding back the tide of like AI generated slop that's just convincingly enough weird train stuff from like swamping this, you know?
That is, yeah, we will never, like, in a year's time, we will simply not be able to find any of these images on the internet ever again.
It's definitely become more difficult in this line of work to find specific images of things I want, you know?
Fucking gross.
Stop making me a 7-wheel streamliner. Just show me the real streamliners. Please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here's the fun one, the Iowa Traction Railroad. This is inexplicably still operating.
Wait, what?
Most of the equipment is 90 years old.
Amazing.
They did this incredible thing back in the 1970s or 80s, which most railroads did not and still don't want to do, which is purchasing an adequate amount of rolling stock for your customers.
Absolutely remarkable. We can't do it in the UK.
90-year-old railway still transports passengers the old-fashioned way.
Yeah. Well, they got rid of the passenger service, unfortunately, but I think they still do fan trips. But this is in the middle of nowhere. All they do is interchange with Union Pacific, I think. But they still are using the old electric engines. I think one of these is a old Washington and Old Dominion engine, actually.
Wowza.
And then how weird could they get? We'll look at the Electroliner in Chicago and Milwaukee on the Chicago North Shoreline.
Oh, boy.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
This is a high-speed interurban. It starts in Milwaukee on the trolley tracks, right, making local stops. Then it would go south onto its own dedicated high-speed right-of-way, go 80 miles an hour all the way to Chicago, where they would then put it on the Chicago L and make local stops in the loop itself.
Absolutely incredible.
And for good measure, the same company also ran freight trains on the L.
Amazing.
Of course they did.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love.
So this is just like local merchandise, but eventually they also handled carloads. This is actually when eventually the Chicago Transit Authority took over, and they kept running freight trains until April 1973.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
These are full-size, mainline coal cars here.
You're just commuting and like the coal train goes past you.
Yes. Quite literally.
Amazing.
Wow.
On the express tracks too.
It's like covered in coal dust.
Yeah. Well, the main customers towards the end were several commercial coal dealerships.
Back when we had those in the middle of cities.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so where does an interurban fit on the not a metro chart? And secondary question, does the interurban then retroactively make a metro into not a metro?
I feel like I'm watching two chess grandmasters playing.
Here we go. I know, right? We're literally unrolling the scroll, the sacred scroll, onto the table, and Roz and I are sat either side of it. Oh, now so all of those are trams.
But
people were astonished at his doctrine.
Does the Chicago L then become a tram because it shares tracks with trams?
Yes, and it would because it ran freight on it, it also gets broken. So the fact that it isn't fully segregated means it isn't a metro, it's heavy suburban rail. So yeah, it's broken. Not only is the interurban a tram, but it is also unmetroified the Chicago L. Yeah.
Wow.
They just took the metro right off of it?
Yeah,
like
they
a
just
Lego
scrubbed it
brick separator?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, that's it. It doesn't mean that it's not good. Trams can be good. I would love to know what the capacities, like when they were fully running. I'd love to know what their actual passengers per hour per direction system capacities were, because I bet some of those were hauling people.
Some of those were definitely moving lots and lots and lots of people, and then other ones were like, yeah, we run 4 trains a day,
and you'll be grateful.
You'll be grateful for it. Yeah.
Like the blimps must have those blimps. What, three car, and each car massive, so potentially 120 people in a car. So those are big, and if they're running them frequently, then that you might start tapping on the door of some seriously high capacity. You might start reaching the point where you're competing with Budapest in terms of the heavy tram title, which doesn't get. To be honest, there's only like one system in the world that hits the heavy tram button. So maybe they're heavy trams sometimes when they're really good.
Yeah, I'd definitely say if you some of those systems would be running like a huge train like that every like 2.5 minutes.
Oh, okay, heavy tram then. I like that. Heavy tram. There we go. So
heavy tram.
Yeah, that's it.
So
I have illnesses, which means I can do my vocals. I can really fry up my vocals down this mic today.
So in Cincinnati, there were several interurban lines that sort of converged on the city, but they could not enter it. This is due to a classic problem, the break of gauge.
Oh, for God's sake. Okay.
Because Cincinnati's street railways were built to Pennsylvania trolley gauge, right?
That's right, baby. Pennsylvania dominance.
That's
I'm
We can just clip-
the
we can just
limits
clip
of
that.
Pennsylvania dominance.
Yeah, that's it. I just want that as a drop. Just Liam shouting, "That's right, baby, Pennsylvania dominance."
Thank you. Thank you.
So that's 5 feet 2.5 inches between the rails, which is about 6 inches wider than standard gauge. This was chosen for 2 reasons, right? One was supposedly to make more room for horses between the rails when the system opened and it was using horse cars.
Oh, the reverse horse ass theory.
Yes. Yes, turns out actually you need a little bit more room. The horses got fatter.
Who amongst us?
Yeah. The other reason was to prevent steam railroads from easily acquiring the horse car lines and subsequently running steam trains in the middle of the street in residential neighborhoods.
That old chestnut. Okay, fair.
Yeah. So your interurban lines faced no such qualms, and so with only a few exceptions, they were all built to standard gauge. There were a couple of small lines radiating out from the city that were built to Pennsylvania trolley gauge, but they were the exception. Your interurban needed to be standard gauge because they interchanged freight with the steam railroads, and they interchanged, passenger cars with each other a lot of the times.
Sorry, I was just getting handed a glass of wine here. Why are we still on the horse's ass thing?
Maybe.
No, we're looking at a map of interurbans and the reason why they are all standard gauge and getting sad. Yeah, we're still sad. We're still sad.
Are we experiencing Halloween in the form of hauntology then?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you betcha.
So the interurban system in Ohio is massive, right? I could ride a train, a local interurban, all the way from Cleveland to Toledo, and then down to Dayton and to Cincinnati.
A better world was possible.
That's all on fast electric trains, or at least electric trains, not necessarily fast.
Why can't we build high-speed rail in this country? And the answer is we built moderate-speed rail in this country.
And then dismantled it.
Two things strike me here. Number one, if this was still around, this would be the equivalent of people who do like hilarious long-distance journeys on local buses only in the UK, which I love. I love that content. I want more of it always. It's great. The second thing that strikes me, because of the predominance of interurbans and their demise, it feels like what. So I watch a lot of air crash investigation because I think it's a fun show. Mayday for those in North America. Hi. And one of the things that always angers me on the North America episodes is why are there flights between there and there? They are like a half-hour train away from each other. That always angers me. And I guess lots of those places had interurbans rather than other railroads. Like they also had interurbans that did and could still be excellent.
Ohio is particularly egregious when it comes to passenger rail at this particular time because it's there's only 2 Amtrak trains that go through Ohio, and they both make stops at like 2:00 in the morning.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say there's like 3 trains to Cincinnati a week, and they all arrive at 1 a.m. and that horrifies me.
Yes. Nothing to Columbus. Cleveland is also served at 2:00 in the morning or so, both ways.
It's like, well done, Cincinnati. You have like a 10th of the number of trains as Dovey Junction in West Wales that has a population of 0. Just absolutely spectacular work.
So, if you were taking the interurban, you couldn't get into Cincinnati proper. You actually had to stop and disembark at the edge of the city and get on a slower local trolley. That's the change of gauge, right?
Uh-huh.
And
because of Pennsylvania excellence.
Yes.
Yes.
And then you were stuck in traffic for an hour to get into the city.
That's the price of Pennsylvania excellence.
That's what you get.
It's because they hadn't invented bus lanes yet.
Yeah.
The strong brackets Philadelphia do as they will, and the weak brackets Cincinnati suffer as they must.
Well, they deserve it, right? Like that's what you should have just remained Extendo Pennsylvania. Or whatever, Extendo Connecticut, technically.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to chop off a bit for the Connecticut Western Reserve.
Yeah.
Now, another problem Cincinnati had was, a lot of this railroad construction had made redundant the smelly and gross and unsanitary Miami and Erie Canal that ran through the center of the city.
Didn't this catch fire at one point?
Probably.
No, you're thinking of the Cuyahoga in Cleveland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I fucked up my post-industrial Midwestern cities.
No one blames
This is named for the Miami River, which it paralleled for much of its length. It actually goes right up the side of Ohio, all the way to the Erie, Lake Erie. There's actually no connection between the Miami River and Miami, Florida, despite the fact they're both derived from Native American place names.
Huh.
Yeah. It's weird.
That is weird. I'm going to be thinking about that for a little while.
Locals, again, they sort of referred to it as the Rhine. That's why the Over the Rhine neighborhood is up here. In 1913, a major flood finally took the canal out of service for good, and there was suddenly this major right-of-way available to get straight to downtown Cincinnati.
Miami, it turns out, means big water, which fits for both,
Yeah.
Well, that'll do it.
The Great Miami River is actually very small.
Oh, that's really sad. So Miami is one of only 10 words surviving recorded from the language of the now extinct Miami people.
Oh yeah, they got them pretty early on in Florida. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
So here's the idea. The city fathers think, why don't we kill 3 birds with 1 stone, right?
You got too many birds there. That's getting greedy.
Biting off more than you can chew, yeah.
Yep.
We're going to replace that dirty old canal with a public-private subway for use by rapid transit trains and interurbans, possibly even freight service as well. What a concept. And then we're going to put a beautiful urban boulevard on top.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah?
It's like cut and cover, except you don't have to do any cutting.
You don't have to do the cutting. Yeah. There's a picture of that later.
Cover.
The idea for a subway in the canal bed had been around since the 1880s, but back then they were still thinking, well, we got to run steam locomotives in there. I don't think that works. That only works in London.
Let's not talk
London
about
excellence, baby. It's like Pennsylvania, but it's better.
Oh, God.
No, it's not.
Well, I just think Connecticut has New London.
Yeah, and it sucks, Ross.
It was so good. Why'd they have to build a new one?
Don't ask about New Philadelphia.
You're going to be laughing out the other side of your face when there's a new Pennsylvania on Mars or whatever.
There's a new Philadelphia in Ohio.
There is.
Yeah.
Is it any good?
No.
It's what happens when you lose your save game for original Philadelphia and you're like, okay, so I just moved to a new tile on the SimCity 4 map.
Philadelphia _ real final real
Underscore this one.
Yeah.
Dash copy. Yep.
The city keeps growing. Due to the topography, it's growing up and not outward. This was back when urban density was a bad thing and Cincinnati had a lot of density. Only parts of Manhattan were like similarly as dense as Cincinnati was.
That's like hauntology, to be in like downtown Cincinnati and be like, this is like mega city one of the like 1890s, to be like, this is the most density anywhere on Earth. It's like fucking Kowloon walled city.
You're in a Warhammer hive city,
yeah.
Called Cincinnati. So Henry Thomas Hunt is elected mayor in 1912 on a platform of abolishing the corrupt Republican machine that ran the city.
Yeah, this is why Cincinnati is a shit tier city. It's because they had a corrupt Republican machine instead of a corrupt Democratic machine.
Yeah, and also they got rid of it. You know, I think sometimes these machines did less bad than people think.
You should listen to a podcast called No Gods, No Mayors, which will cover some of this very shortly. Yeah, I really am having a sort of hauntological moment of like, you will never be in downtown Cincinnati in like 1912, you know?
Yes.
Can
you imagine?
Oh,
yeah,
God.
These are moments I enjoy on other podcasts that are available to listen to as well. Kill James Bond being one, where it's like footage of like Tokyo in 1981, and it's just such a vibe that it's impossible to recreate.
You can't jump in the same river twice. You can barely jump in the same river once. You'll never step out of like a bar in Cincinnati in like 1910, almost get hit by an interurban going 80 miles an hour down the middle of the street.
And look up at every building is like 100 meters tall. Yeah, it's something.
So Cincinnati, the government was corrupt and it was broke. And it was broke because it was corrupt.
That's one of those kinds of corrupt.
Yeah.
Henry Thomas Hunt managed in a very short period of time to implement very basic but effective reforms, such as actually collecting taxes.
A quick way to become very unpopular.
Yeah, he was one term. He also spearheaded a serious effort to build the subway. He convinced the state to lease the canal to the city and set up a committee, the Rapid Transit Committee, to actually plan the damn thing. Several features were planned. There'd be a downtown circulator route shown here. There would be a huge freight terminal right behind Cincinnati Music Hall.
That wouldn't fuck with the music at all. Sounds of boxcars slamming into each other.
There'd be a beautiful new boulevard on top of the whole thing.
Fine, nice. Don't put cars on there, of course. Just leave it as a nice green park. No, they're not going to do that. Oh, okay, never mind.
This thing was heavily based on the Cambridge-Dorchester subway.
Okay.
In various municipalities around Boston. I
am now fascinated by Cincinnati. I wish to go to Cincinnati and like absorb its local history. Dear United States Customs and Immigration, please, I am normal and can be trusted with entering the United States. I'm sorry I called it the United Snakes of America earlier.
That's just speaking Maoist standard English.
Yeah, yes. Bilingual.
Yeah.
Well, very proud of you.
So the Cambridge Dot subway is extremely large. The cars were very large for their day. These are 10 feet wide, 70-foot long cars. Those were larger than some contemporary mainline passenger cars.
Hell yeah.
The city also planned to ban steam trains in the tunnel except for emergencies. And what an emergency is left as a exercise to the reader. They included quite a lot of ventilation. But yeah, if you want to see what this subway looks like, go to Cambridge, Massachusetts. And that's essentially the same design.
I was gonna say, you know what you could do while you're in Cambridge, Massachusetts, is you could come to Somerville, Massachusetts on May the 1st, I think, and you could see
1st.
us.
Yes.
So there were a few schemes that were developed.
Love a scheme. Love a scheme.
Yeah, scheme.
Love this.
Oh, in Roman numerals as well, just to make them seem even more sinister.
There was Scheme 1. Scheme 1 is just the area outside the downtown loop. There was Scheme 2, where they built a loop downtown. These sorts of distribution loops were very popular in sort of the pre-war subways. They also didn't work very well, but they didn't figure that out for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, mini metro is not very intuitive sometimes.
Yeah. Scheme 2 just has it do this little dog leg into downtown. Scheme
that's
3
actually
here,
better. Dogleg is better from a design perspective, for sure.
Scheme 3 here had it go down.
God inventing the dog.
Yeah.
Liam, to answer your question, loops are a nightmare operationally. They're just very, very annoying. It's actually better operationally and for capacity to just have a continuous line, even if it does weird shapes. It's better to just have a single line.
All the trains get in each other's way.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes they get in their own way. Scheme 4 is this sort of, they do a straighter line through downtown and then come out the bottom near the waterfront as an elevated rail system.
Oh, interesting. Quite a lot further south coming the other end. So there's quite a massive variation in where it ends up to the I'm going to say to the right of these aerials. I don't know what north is, but I guess north is the top.
Roughly this way. Now there's more outside of this area where it goes out into the suburbs.
Okay, yeah.
This
I suppose on that, did it for this? This is not hugely pertinent. Was it just taking some of the interurbans at that point? Was it kind of occupying the space of the interurbans at that point?
Yeah, we'll see that in the next slide.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a $6 million bond issue for constructing the subway. This passes with a 6-to-1 ratio at the ballot box in 1916.
I mean, 1916, you know, America hasn't even entered the war yet. You're like, everything is fine here in, like, the densest city in the world and the way of the future, Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yes.
Everything is going to be fine forever. It's going to be the American century. I would love to...
Nothing bad's going to happen.
Yeah, I would love to do some trains.
This was not enough money to pay for the whole thing, but this is going to be the sort of public-private partnership, remember? The city was going to construct...
Oh, yes.
The city was going to construct the tunnels and grade the rights-of-way where it was above ground, and the Cincinnati Street Railway, which was the local monopoly on the streetcars, would lease the tunnels and operate them and install the tracks and so on and so forth.
So administratively, this is a tram.
Essentially, yeah.
So just putting a line in the sand there. So the really complicated bit, the public are going to take that on, right? So the public are going to take liability for the expensive, complicated, heavy civil engineering, and then these little the private company chucklefucks can come in and all they have to do is put the tracks down and run trains through. Okay, I'm just going to take note of that. That feels important.
Yes. So, all right, here's like the fuller system zoomed out a bit. You can see we have the sort of dog leg down here. You can also these green lines radiating off are various interurbans that would connect to the subway. The parts in red are tunnels. The parts in blue are surface or elevated tracks.
Okay, yeah.
But this is going to sort of form a big loop on the outside, and then all these interurbans are going to feed into it, and they're all going to go directly downtown as express trains.
Sure. Okay.
So there's pretty quickly a legal roadblock here. The Ohio Supreme Court decreed in 1917 the city's lease to the Cincinnati Street Railway was illegal on sort of weird technicality.
Goes against Ohio law.
Yeah. So now there's no one to lay the tracks and purchase the rolling stock, right?
Oh, those are important for a railway.
Those are very important, yes.
Without those, you've just got a hole.
Bits.
Yeah, it's just a hole. And,
Yeah, it's not called the Cincinnati Street Hole.
Yeah.
Although maybe it should be. That would have been good.
This was probably solvable. It would just cause some confusion and delay while they work through the legal difficulties, and it's not a fatal blow until America enters World War One.
Ow.
It's
good you did that, but
yeah. One of the first things they did was ban the sale of municipal bonds.
Oh, you dickheads.
Yeah, because as we saw on that one L train earlier, you have to buy war bonds.
You got to buy the war bonds instead.
Yes.
So that was foreshadowing. Roz, you're getting very good at these.
You got to buy like 10 million pairs of Pershing boots, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Well, Cincinnati has a really nice flag. Sorry, I have ADHD, possibly.
Possibly, huh?
Gotta do some
I haven't
vexology.
been diagnosed, you know.
Hey, me neither. We
So
both
the
have
$6
ADHD.
million,
No, that's fine.
the $6 million that was authorized by the public, that does not appear.
Yeah, that's going to like buy
War bonds.
yeah, exactly.
One of
like
those-
gaiters
one of those
and like
weird
lemon
tanks.
squeezer hats. Yeah.
Yeah.
The war results in massive inflation due to the, wartime economic reasons, straight up labor and material shortages. So it was time to do some value engineering.
I don't like those words when they're together.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, no one likes value engineering except the people who for some reason enjoy doing it, and they're freaks. Another project gets curb stomped by value engineering.
Oh, these motherfuckers.
So wait a minute. So let's just do a quick. I'm not going to derail the podcast, but I'm just going to say. So we have no trains, we have no tracks, and now the money to build the infrastructure has also disappeared.
Yes.
Okay, noted. All right, cool.
The money still exists, sort of, but it needs to be, it can't be used until after the war, and also it's worth a lot less money now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the engineers come back with something called Modification H.
Oh boy.
That's
Basically,
sinister.
the idea here is, okay, we're going to get something built, right?
Okay, that can sometimes be a good way to do things. Build something. See also HS2. We are building at least a bit of it that we will need later.
You kind of salt the thing a bit, you know?
Yeah.
So they cut some tunnels north of downtown. They elevated some tracks. They put some tracks on the ground. They tried to use some existing right-of-ways near the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. Overall, they're just sort of, they're cutting costs, but they're still coming up with a functional product, right? And this proved not to be enough with the inflation, right? So after Modification H, we had the most drastic cut, which was the entire eastern side of the loop was eliminated.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, but at
As
least
well
now
as-
it's not a loop. That's an efficiency gain.
Dogleg.
It also looks like the cheaper side because it's mostly at or above ground level, so that kind of surprises me. But there we go.
This one is
big dog leg.
It is all like pretty steep uphill, though, I believe.
Okay. So lots of cut and fill. Okay, understood.
Yeah, and then a big portion of this was eliminating the subway under Walnut Street down here, because that would have been cut and cover under an existing active street instead of in a canal bed, right? So that would be very expensive and disruptive. So they were, even though it's the most useful part, so they were like, all right, we're going to cut that for now, and hopefully later we'll have the money to finish it, right?
Carbrain before Carbrain had ever arrived.
Yeah.
It interrupt all the people who like
Car.
driving their horse.
So the terminus of the system would be Race Street Station down here, which we'll talk a bit more about in a few slides because it's weird. But the main terminal at Fountain Street would have to wait for a while. So they've eliminated a whole lot, but they're still going to build it. They start building in January 1920.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, here we go. There's some copy of burn.
See here in this not very many pixel image.
Well, so you can tell it's
Just
legitimate.
they're constructing the tubes in the open canal pit. This is very, very simple. It's cut and cover, but they don't have to do the cut part. Everyone's real happy to get rid of this horrible, smelly canal, right?
Apart from the workers.
Yeah. This is just cast in place, reinforced concrete, nothing fancy here. They're different contractors working on different parts with slightly different materials. But overall, the thing is, pretty unified. There's rumors about low quality material and construction, but as we'll see, that's completely unfounded. I know they wound up using a little bit lower quality concrete than they expected, but they sort of compromised with that they just made the walls thicker. It was fine.
Yeah, it's fun. I like this. This is nifty. It's quick. It's easy. I suppose that's why they built this bit first.
Oh, yeah. The terminus of this line was a very strange station in Race Street. There's nowhere to find these images online. I had to take a picture from the book with my phone.
Incredible. Just fully lost media.
Incredible.
Exactly. So a Race Street station was going to be the centerpiece of, Modification H. It's a 4-track station with one convoluted island platform, right?
Huh.
Okay, bit of a weird design, I'm going to be quite honest, but that's fine.
The platform is H-shaped.
Okay.
Well, okay.
And so you have one track up here, one track down here, and then 2 stub-ended tracks that terminate there.
This is like something if you misclick in like a game where you're building railways.
It's a very strange design, but the idea here is these 2 stub-ended tracks are for interurban trains that are coming in, and they're going to stop and reverse, and then you'll have the outer tracks would be for the rapid transit trains that would presumably continue through once the subway was completed down Walnut Street, down here at the end.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
It was also designed in such a way that it could be expanded with 2 extra platforms on each side, with this weird staircase that goes down and under the platforms, which pretty commonly shows up in images of this, that no one knows what it's for. Well, here's what it's for, folks. It's for extra tunnels to concourses underneath the Central Parkway. As well as extra platforms which were not built but were anticipated to be needed at some point.
Yeah, just like getting the sort of masculine urge to dig and letting it run riot municipally, being like, we're gonna need this for future trains, nuclear war, Morlock storage. Child storage.
We're not some kind of podunk town. This is Cincinnati. We're gonna need a 4-track subway at some point. Come on, guys.
Yeah, based on current trends, Cincinnati will have 8 trillion people by the year 2020.
Exactly. There was also some amount of thought, since this is going to be serving some interurbans that went quite a long distance, there will be room for baggage handling as well.
Oh, crikey.
Unclear if this was actually followed through on. At each end of the station, they built a Y, right? That's just, a Y-shaped piece of track that's for turning. That's for turning the interurbans around.
So, right, I'm going to interject again. I suppose that's what you do when you're a temporary host, is interject repeatedly. Sorry, Roz. The problem with them trying to do everything with this is that there is so much expensive extra stuff that they're putting in. The switchbacks are not necessary if they were running this as a pure metro system rather than with all the interurban interactions.
It's trying to fuck with your flowchart a bit here, and it's trying to be all things to all people.
The other question, most interurbans are double-ended. I don't know why they need the 2 Ys.
Because that's a lot of under-the-ground digging that they're having to do again. They don't need to do... That's a lot. They are adding... this isn't value engineering so much as just doing sensible engineering. I would not... I would have been converting the interurbans or just managing that in such a way that you didn't have those switchbacks, because that is a lot of extra cost. Also, the track layout is so... It's
bonkers.
It's a bit bonkers. Yeah, it's a bit bonkers.
It's weird.
Yeah.
The Y at the end here would eventually go down Walnut Street. That would if they continued the tunnel to a actually more substantial terminal at Fountain Street. And this is the most commonly photographed space in the subway.
Sure.
You know, of what was eventually built.
The creepiest looking one.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely creepy because it's got the weird staircase to nowhere.
Hell yeah.
It's hauntology, but the like better world
eat your
envisioned
heart
as
out,
being able to
Tetsuya.
like go down a flight of stairs.
Right.
Now you can't do that.
You can't go. It's
Because
all
of woke.
flooded down there. Yeah.
I guess you could if you wanted to like die horribly. Listen to the Caves episode.
Oh, fuck with caves.
Don't
So
fuck
they
with a
actually
cave.
they got
Dad,
a
are you listening? Stop fucking with caves.
they got a substantial amount of this constructed, but they finished construction in 1926. The infrastructure's all there, but there's no tracks and there's no trains. About 7 miles of right-of-way is finished. This is at
That
this
sounds
point.
usable.
Yeah, other than
Yeah.
the lack of tracks, everything is there. But in the interim period,
Just
by
send the trains anyway. Just like the sound.
Fucking
Just,
off-roading.
just dig your own rails. It's fine.
So in the interim period, while this was being constructed, a lot of people are buying cars.
Yeah.
Those
Answer
fucking
nothing, Henry
pricks.
Ford.
And a lot of the interurbans that were designed to connect with the subway went out of business.
This is
The new-
yeah.
Yeah. The new Central Parkway was still incomplete. That was facing a series of bond issue failures, so there wasn't really a great way to get into downtown Cincinnati yet. But, you know, the rapid transit line has been graded and constructed, but there's no tracks, there's no trains, and political issues start developing.
That makes sense. I assume this becomes a political football pretty quickly.
Yeah.
More so, anyway.
So
Yeah.
Cincinnati, of course, is run by a Republican machine that was run by George Barnsdale Cox, also known as Boss Cox.
Boss Boss
Name
Cox,
alert.
baby.
Yeah. Boss Cox.
And then later, Rudolf Kelker Heinecke.
Oh, these fucking Germans.
Jesus, yeah.
That guy mostly ran the political machine from Coney Island.
Good for him.
He didn't deign to go to Cincinnati. He just ran it.
Absentee landlord.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're doing all the normal
Terrific.
stuff, you know, they're fixing elections, they're dispensing patronage jobs, they're giving out favors, redirecting city fees to private individuals, adjusting property tax assessments for supporters, you know, all the fun corruption
The
stuff,
normal
right?
stuff, yeah.
You know, and despite being initiated by a reformer, the rapid transit loop was, of course, a great source of patronage jobs, right?
That makes sense.
But the machine is falling into crisis. Certain
not
taxes.
my well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
We're stuck inside the belly of this machine, and this machine is not vibing.
The machine stops, as it turns out.
Oh no,
Um,
my patronage jobs.
certain taxes were about to be made illegal by the state. Income from liquor taxes had dried up because of prohibition. It was harder and harder to distribute patronage jobs when there's no money coming in, right? So this was a prime opportunity for a guy named Murray Seasongood to come in with
Making up a fake name like
yeah.
Yeah.
And he is the leader of a movement called the Charterists.
not the Chartists, not
That's
the like
not
good guys
Chartists,
who want
yeah.
universal suffrage.
These are the Charterists. Seasongood wanted major reform, right? A complete rewrite of the city charter. He wanted to reduce the power of the mayor. He wanted the appointment of a professional city manager so there's the distance day-to-day operations from politics.
Sounds
You
like
know,
lib shit to me.
Yeah, he wants to do all the normal good government stuff that all the progressives loves back then that just fucked everything up.
Oh,
And he got it.
Oh.
After campaigning against the Central Parkway bond issues, which were separate from the rapid transit loop, even though they were sort of the same project, he was elected mayor in 1925, and he goes in and he throws the bums out. the entire city council turned over.
Oof, incredible.
Jesus.
It was also reduced from, I believe, 32 members to 9.
32 people is too many people for a city council.
Yeah, that's a sort of Venetian level of like.
Yeah, exactly. Where's the Doge at? Exactly.
Yeah, and it was basically like, okay, who owns the tavern in this neighborhood? You're on city council.
Sure.
And he sets his sight on this rapid transit loop, right? He commissions a new report called the Beeler Report on what to do with the incomplete subway.
Bueller.
Ross, have you ever even seen that movie?
Yes, I have.
That's another movie he's seen. Write it down.
Yes.
Write it down.
Yeah.
It's a real short list.
It genuinely is.
The Beeler Report recommended finishing the tunnel under Walnut Street, but also abandoning and demolishing several already built above-ground stations
What?
to save time compared to the surface streetcars, right?
What?
Some of these quite substantial above-ground stations, as you can see here. The idea being that, okay, this line is sort of, it goes all the way around the hill, and some of the streetcar lines have a more direct route. So from certain stations, it would be faster to take the streetcar than the new rapid transit. Now, the thing is, from other stations, that would not be the case.
Yeah.
And these stations were already built.
Just, they've built them. You don't have to stop the trains there, even that many times, but they, at least keep them there. Yeah. Oh, I'm angry. Oh, I'm sad now.
And this sort of did not sit well with the public, recommending demolishing these brand new stations. And so some nasty rumors start to circulate in the papers based on this report. You know, maybe the line was too circuitous. It was badly planned. Maybe they made the curbs in the city too tight for modern rapid transit, which they didn't do that. They were good for 45 miles an hour with a lot of super elevation and everything. There were rumors that, streetcars weren't going to be able to use the tunnels, which they could theoretically. And then there was, a pervasive rumor that the city was now too small for rapid transit at all, even though it had grown since the system was planned.
It's all HS2 arguments. They're all very familiar to anyone who...
Do you think there was a kind of like Cincinnati, like a German Gareth back in the day? Like, who was
there
just
must have been, yeah. Just
tearing his hair out. Yeah.
Oh, mein Gott, I'm so angry about... Why are they trying to whip up my line? I'm so angry about this.
I'm simply built HS2.
Oh, the mayor is going on the list.
Seasongood was elected to a second term and abolished the old machine-run Rapid Transit Commission and put the project under full control of the city manager.
Oh.
They still didn't have the cash to complete the system, but a second report came out, also by Beeler, recommending full conversion to streetcar operation.
Oh, that's also not a good idea. It's the whole point of this is that it's hidden away, segregated, so you can get high capacity, so you can run long, good trains with lots of people on them. They'll pay for the system. I
mean, you already built it.
You've already built. It's already there. You've built the fucking thing.
You built the thing. You should use
built
it.
the thing.
So this report actually had some legs. To the point where the Cincinnati Street Railway actually purchased new trolley cars that could use the high platforms in the tunnel. And these things down here, called Red Devils, were purchased by the Cincinnati and Lake Erie interurban. Those were capable of 90 miles an hour.
God damn.
Jesus.
Just fling that down the inside of a former canal.
Well, the thing is, once they left the subway... This company was sort of a consolidation of a whole hell of a lot of interurbans in Ohio. So once they left the subway, they then went 280 miles to Cleveland.
In about 15 minutes,
I'm thinking of the line from the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. What do they want for their lousy 15 cents? To live forever?
And that thing is the size and speed of a cannonball. It's quite something.
Yeah, so they are now, it looks like, okay, maybe this is going to go through. Some of the streetcar depots were actually, the car barns were refitted with dual gauge track with the anticipation that, okay, we're going to get this thing up and running finally with something, right? And then it's 1929 and the thing happens.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I hate when a thing happens.
Yep.
This time it's not cocaine. It's whatever the 1929 version of cocaine was.
Also cocaine.
Cocaine,
it's still cocaine.
laudanum.
Yeah.
It's cocaine, but it's branded as a sort of tonic.
Cocainium.
Yeah.
War were declared, right? Everybody's going out of windows and shit.
October 29th, 1929, the Great Depression had started. The stock market's crashed. Good luck funding that brand new, never used subway. You're not going to get anyone to issue a municipal bond right now. But on the other hand, they had managed to force through the Parkway bond. Wow, look at that. Isn't that pretty?
Oh my God.
Central Parkway was completed, and it was immediately a total failure because they built it on the canal, which meant most of the buildings didn't face the Parkway.
No more lanes, bro.
Oh, yeah. It's all the buildings' asses were facing the road. Yeah, that's it.
Yes, exactly. This
like
one
Fort William.
segment here is an exception, but also this nice landscape median. Guess what happened to that?
Oh, more lanes.
Yeah, you need more lanes. Let's get real.
It's one more.
Okay, so the subway is still there. People are going to try and revive this, right? One thing about the Depression is we have this great guy named Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He forced through this thing called the New Deal, and the New Deal funds a lot of infrastructure all across the country, right?
Yeah, like
I've heard of
this.
this guy.
Sure.
Yeah, this would
Right.
presumably be one of those options.
Yeah.
The Works Progress Administration funded a new study for use of the subway in 1936. This recommended a total conversion to streetcar subway, with replacing the high platforms with low platforms, adding a bunch of new exits and entrances for various streetcars on local streets above, significant reconfigurations to the entire streetcar system, and lots of weird stuff where the tunnels would tie themselves into knots in order to be able to use center platforms when the streetcars only had doors on one side. And this is a very heavy lift that was very expensive, and the city ultimately didn't go for it. Instead, they asked the Work Progress Administration for parkways and slum clearance. So there was still support for a streetcar subway, though, and the charterists had indeed turned the city's finances around. Cincinnati could probably plausibly fund the thing by itself with a large municipal bond issue. The economy is starting to improve. World War II hasn't quite happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
So the Ohio state legislature steps in and mandates a 65% supermajority for municipal bond issuances, and the idea was dead again.
Of course. Fuck this idea specifically.
Yeah. It's not like they just seen. We just done big Keynesianism, right? So we just seen that investing in infrastructure was good for economies, particularly urban economies.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, no one realized this in Cincinnati or
not in Ohio,
or in Ohio at the large. Yeah, fantastic.
So we get through World War II, and then some things happen that sort of change this. The supermajority starts to be a big problem in the 1950s. No one in Ohio could, you couldn't finish the subway. You also couldn't build highways. You couldn't build airports. You couldn't build hospitals. Infrastructure ground to a halt in the whole state.
Just that thing where you accidentally abolish your own government for funsies.
Yes. So, in the meantime, there's also a plan by the state to build a north-south highway, sort of roughly along the alignment of the old Miami and Erie Canal, right? It's now Interstate 75.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
That was originally supposed to connect up to the Parkway, but the Parkway quickly became overwhelmed with traffic because, traffic expands to fit the space allotted.
Mm-hmm.
So a new expressway to the north that paralleled the Mill Creek was necessary. That passes through a narrow valley, so of course space was limited, but some of that space was taken up by the grade for the rapid transit loop. That's up here-ish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, of course, through some creative financing and the state legislature reducing the supermajority rule down to 55% in 1949, the city managed to alter the terms of the lease of the Cincinnati Southern Railroad, which until recently was the only interstate municipally owned railroad in the United States. That went up for a bond for a vote this year, I think, and the city finally sold it to Norfolk Southern. Now instead of it only being used to retire debt, that money could fund any kind of transportation in the city. So now they were going to use the revenue from the railroad to build a highway.
Oh.
All of these never used above ground stations were demolished, as was almost all the above ground infrastructure. You'd see one of the stations had collapsed on its own by this point. I will say that.
Whoops.
God bless them.
Saving everybody's time, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All that was left were a few short tunnels in the suburbs and the 2-mile tunnel under the parkway. This also thwarted a private plan to run freight trains in the tunnels. Some people were still trying to do that.
This is a kind of like freelancer.
This is all prior to the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, right? That mandates a state and local and federal split for highway construction of 5, and 90%. So if you wanted to build a transit project, to get $1, you had to spend $1. But if you wanted to build a highway, you only spent 5 cents to get $1. Yeah.
I swear to fucking God, I really want to these people.
So the unbuilt eastern half of the rapid transit loop
Thanks for enough
was then
assholes.
replaced with Interstate 71. And the northern portion was replaced by State Route 562 up here. The whole rapid transit loop was now a highway.
I've got contemporary Google Maps up of Cincinnati, and one thing strikes me, which is, holy shit, do highways obliterate the most theoretically good bits of the city?
Yes.
Like the waterfront, a park that has been obliterated, and oh my God, the lanes going everywhere. Like it's proper like body horror stuff.
Oh yeah. The West End got particularly badly hit. Because this is one of those neighborhoods that was like declared an overcrowded slum in like the 30s, right? So the Works Progress Administration paid to demolish this and replace it with public housing, which was recently demolished and replaced by private housing. These are all like, good solid brownstones. I mean, they probably had sanitation issues at the time in the 30s, but those are easy to correct with modern technology like plumbing. But yeah, these were all knocked down for slum clearance and then knocked down for the Mill Creek Expressway and the approach to the Brent Spence Bridge. Right, you can see up here Cincinnati Union Terminal. That was very nearly demolished.
Yeah.
Didn't quite happen,
absolutely.
even though it was quite new at the time. That was eventually saved by none other than Cincinnati Mayor Jerry Springer in the 80s.
Future episode right there.
Yeah.
Forgetting what podcast I'm on here.
But essentially, yeah, a lot of the money and the planning that would have gone into the subway eventually went into, destroying whole neighborhoods and replacing them with highways. And here in the West End, these were mostly residential buildings. Today, right up next to their huge train station, almost entirely one-story light industrial buildings.
Yeah, it's just it's like the most stupid usage of zoning on a city skylines map I've ever seen. It is absolutely, it's wild. Also, really upsetting on the other side of the city where you've got Mount Adams, which is like a really clearly like a bit of historic district, right? And it's just completely surrounded on three sides by highway. It's really up. It's pretty horrific. It's like almost Detroit levels of destruction. It's quite spectacular. What a mess.
Cincinnati got bad by the highways. That is ultimately, you know, it's amazing how far they went.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when highway construction is basically free.
Yeah. The good thing is, you can rip all of that up and replace it with ground level mass transit. That's what you need to do. Rip that shit up.
Theoretically. I mean, you know, the city ate itself alive as the new highway system allowed residents to live in distant suburbs. Eventually, they did access all that land to the north, and it was all built up as horrible single-family homes.
More sprawl, more McMansion bullshit.
Well, they did it.
And so the tunnels just sat there until 1957. Someone found something to do with them, which was to put a 52-inch water main in there.
Oh boy!
Just flood them, sweep out all the Morlocks.
One station was used for a time as a fallout shelter, but it was kind of there to give the impression that there was a fallout shelter rather than to actually be used as a fallout shelter.
Yeah, because they hadn't absolutely you have to have facilities for a fallout shelter, and I'm guessing they didn't put any of those in.
Well, this is more like a room with water bottles in it.
Yeah,
great. You can die of starvation after the thing.
Yeah. The tunnels are all still there. They're inspected each month. They're still in good condition. There have been several proposals since then to try and reactivate the tunnels. A big one that looked likely to happen was back in the 70s when Lyndon Johnson finally came out and said, what if we gave money to public transportation as well? It looked like Cincinnati would be only a few positions in line past like Atlanta and San Francisco and where else got one? Baltimore, in getting one of these modern Great Society style subways. But the Urban Mass Transit Administration was pretty quickly the conservatives put a stop to that nonsense.
Brighton Pier.
There was a plan to try and put light rail in the tunnels in the 1990s. That also failed. The big one most recently was the Metro Moves project in 2002. The idea being they were going to put to voters a 1/4-cent sales tax increase, which would build 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 light rail lines and also build commuter rail out from Cincinnati Union Terminal. And this failed miserably at the ballot. It was rejected 2-1.
Kill all voters.
I believe this is because quite recently before that, there was another ballot measure that passed to raise the sales tax by a similar amount to build a stadium.
Okay.
How's that going for you?
That's always a bad idea.
Oh no, the Bengals are good. Oh, Joe Burrow is. Oh, give Jamar Chase the ball.
Eventually, rail transit. Eventually, rail transit does return to Cincinnati in the form of one of the Obama-era modern streetcars.
Oh boy.
Which could be a whole episode on their own at some point. This is now called the Bell Connector. It is a streetcar in mixed traffic that runs in downtown Cincinnati and in Over the Rhine. It is, there's no dedicated lanes or anything like that.
Oh my God.
These are sort of,
miserable.
again, these Obama era streetcars were deployed a lot of places. They were built very cheaply, and they're almost for increasing property values as much as they're for transportation. A lot of them are slower than buses on the same route.
Yeah, but they look futuristic, you know.
They do look futuristic. this one does run on Walnut Street, where one of the tunnels was supposed to have eventually been.
Hey, you can
But
do
this
an,
is-
do an
laughing at
unironic,
its corpse.
an unironic thanks Obama. Or I guess
Yes.
an ironic, unironic thanks Obama.
Yeah.
Thanks, Obama. Yeah, this is no substitute for real rapid transit, which I think ultimately that is what a city like Cincinnati needs. You know, I everywhere these days people do light rail, especially in the United States, where you probably want heavy rail, actually.
Yeah, having worked on a few, I have to say, strongly bizarre vibes off all the. I mean, it's the same in the UK, to be honest. Like trams being proposed. Trams are excellent, but they are to improve buses. They are not to replace metro systems and dedicated suburban rail. Like Cincinnati, enormous city, very sprawling city, needs the speed and the capacity that metros and suburban rail provide.
Yeah,
Dig that
and
highway up.
the infrastructure's there. The tunnels are still there. They're good for modern subway cars. I mean, they're good for 45 miles an hour in there. I mean, you have the stuff, you may as well use it.
Absolutely. But also dig up the highways.
I would definitely dig up
Yep.
the highways. I mean, there were some proposals when they were building them to have space for rapid transit, and that just did not happen.
Oh, lol, no.
Yeah, of course not. You know, so all that's going to be very expensive to implement these days. You know, it's amazing when you go back even to the Metro Moves plan in 2002, how much bang for the buck you got back then. Now everything's going to be very steep to do anything.
Yeah, but don't buy into the how much it costs. I know that some people on Twitter get very angry about how much everything costs. It's like, no, shut the fuck up. Build the thing. It doesn't matter how much it costs. Just build it.
Money's
Yes.
fake.
Just build the
Yeah,
damn
we had the
thing.
federal government. The money is actually fake. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, God. I didn't think I'd get so upset on this one, actually.
Well, I mean, the one thing you can say is the tunnels are still there. They're still being maintained. They're still in good condition.
I'm gonna figure out what to use them for sooner or later.
Yeah. Well, some people tried to start like a winery in there. That didn't work.
What?
Every time someone proposes an alternate use for them, the insurance companies take them out.
They'll do that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny about that. I mean, yeah, ultimately they're only good for one thing, and that's trains and
Put
apparently
trains
a
in there.
water main
Yeah.
and some fiber optic cables. I think are down there now too.
As long as they don't put HV cables down there, you're fine. Because as soon as HV cables go in there, you're screwed. They're too difficult to move.
I think there's a redundant water main they built shortly afterwards, so if they have to remove that one, it'll be relatively easy.
Good.
Mhm.
Put trains in there.
Put trains in there, yeah.
Yes.
Well, what did we learn?
Fucking nothing.
Put trains in the thing. Put trains in
Put
the
the
thing.
trains in the thing, yeah.
Rip
Put-
up
put trains
the
in the
highways.
tunnels.
The Fed shouldn't be in charge of transport at all. They can't
Yes.
be trusted. Like,
This is
yes, the city
just-
an
the city voters
intriguing
out.
corollary to abolish the Treasury, abolish the Department of Transportation.
I mean, that's not the craziest idea I've heard. Yeah, it's amazing
590.
the outcomes you get when you make highway construction free. All of a sudden, it's impossible to build anything other than highways.
Yep.
During the period when, you know, it would have been really relevant to get the subway done, you know, which is between like, you know, 1930 and like 1950. I believe there was only one rapid transit project underway anywhere in the United States, and that was
Oh, that's fucking grim. Jesus.
building the State Street subway in Chicago.
To be fair, we can't get on our high horse in the UK because none
Nope,
anywhere.
down you go, asshole.
Yep. No, we were building just a few extra tube lines. Great for London, but nothing anywhere else.
Yep.
How's the Glasgow subway looking, Nova?
Oh, I mean, there's new trains in it, which are worse in a lot of ways and better in a couple, and then they're going to make those sort of driverless soon, allegedly.
But you can't sit in the front and look out the window, can you?
No, you can't. They're still insanely like loud and like very like rattly, and also the fact is it's a loop, and if you build a loop, like you close yourself off into the fucking like interstellar thing, or I guess the True Detective thing. And if you go out west, for instance, or further south or wherever, and you're like, man, I wish there was a subway here. Get fucked, because you still have the loop that you had in like 1890 something, and changing it would be too difficult. So,
love Britain.
Love Ohio.
Don't like it. There's the thing about Scotland as well is that you can't even do the like don't like it, leave the United Kingdom, because tried and that didn't work. So.
Yeah, thanks, Alex Salmon, for fucking that one up for us all. Rest in shit.
Well, we have a segment on this podcast called Safety Third.
Got a 50-50 chance. And she makes it. We take those.
All right. Hello, Justin, Liam, November, Devin, and Milkshake. Today I recount to you the majority circumstance that led to my untimely termination from an unnamed Canadian passenger railway.
Well, that's one of like two, right?
Yeah.
And you have a picture.
Yeah. At 19, I was fresh out of college with an associate's degree in railway operations and managed to join Canada's National Passenger Railway.
Uh-huh.
Okay, you're really narrowing it down. Yeah.
The main part of my job was quite simple, working as either a conductor or engineer to move equipment around our shop, in the yard, and at the adjoining passenger station. For the most part, that part of my job was great. Where the real difficulties lied were the myriad of other jobs myself and the rest of my crew could be put on when not switching. Such jobs included, but were not limited to, cleaning locomotive engine rooms and cabs, dumping locomotive toilets, general shop cleanup, cleaning up the managers' and administrative offices, running errands like picking up parts and materials, and most significant to our story today, locomotive exterior washing.
So you had to be like a fucking oh god, what's the word for the like a domestique? You had to be a domestique like on a fucking Tour de France team. I was bouncing back and forth between domestique and stagiaire, which is funny given that I don't know how to ride a bike. But like
the phrase I was thinking of was Charlie work.
A dog's body.
Yeah, Charlie work. Yeah.
Yeah. So, a locomotive's exterior could be washed in a myriad of ways. One was our very entertaining yet largely ineffective train wash system that would reliably leave the sides of the train wet and occasionally cleaner. See Figure 1.
The train wetter.
Yeah. Another method was at what we called the wash pit, a section of track just outside the shop which suspended the rails on I-beams above an access pit and had 2 levels of scaffolding above to access either side of the body and the roof of the locomotives. Using the wash pit, industrial pressure washers, and lots of chemicals deemed to cause cancer in the state of California, we could meticulously restore even the nastiest, shit-caked locomotives to a rather impressive level of cleanliness, albeit rather slowly.
First of all, Power Wash Simulator DLC when.
Yes.
Second of all, I know I've mentioned this before previously, but like it is genuinely impressive to me, and I think generally unknown by a lot of people how nasty everything around a working railway gets. Everything. It's covered in like just like the nastiest mixture of like just like grit and dirt and mud and shit and like every possible toxic chemical, which is cool.
You ever ride an Amtrak long distance train? Take a look at the locomotive at the end of the trip.
Yeah.
It's up there with like ocean going ships where you're like, this just gets nasty over time and there's not much you can do to prevent that, you know?
If you can happily go to any terminal, like almost every terminal station in Britain will just have like they won't have done much to the tracks, to the terminal tracks, because you can't, there's no point. And they will be coated in all of what Nova just described. And let me tell you, as someone who spent and will probably continue to spend quite a bit of time out on track, yes.
Yeah.
Just
I mean,
yes.
you know,
Dear
sometimes
Christ.
the locomotive comes in and it has a deer impaled on the knuckle.
Do you remember when they did that study a few years ago that tried to work out the average color of the universe, right? Which is this kind of like mocha brown. The average color of like the railway is like just kind of shit brown. As you can tell, because everything averages out to it.
Brown.
Mm-hmm.
What can brown do for you?
Yes.
Give you some intriguing diseases.
You know, UPS Brown is a candidate for what the original Pullman Green was.
I kind of like the UPS brown. I think a nice dark brown is kind of cool, but this is not. I'm not talking about a nice dark brown. I'm talking about a really dull,
like diesel smeared through it. Just like
yeah. Then there was the third option, unbeknownst to me until the day I was told to do it. There was a third option at the east end of Track 2. This was a location so far away from the shop, no pressure washer or garden hose could feasibly reach it. On that hot July day, myself and my coworker were told by a manager to go wash a customer's locomotive on Track 2. In an effort to make extra dough, our maintenance center had contracts with some of the other railways to maintain and store their equipment. After much back and forth regarding the feasibility of the task and countless offerings to move the locomotive to a more appropriate location, we were handed 2 telescopic scrub brushes, a bucket of water, and a pump-action spray bottle of corrosive alkaline degreaser.
Oh, Jesus.
oh my God.
Much to our dismay and with a fear that refusal may result in a write-up for insubordination, we proceeded. With one person acting as a runner and the other one taking turns throwing water as high as they could, then chasing the splash with the degreaser and vigorously scrubbing, we somehow managed to wash the entire locomotive. Then came the rinse.
Oh boy.
The locomotive in question was an MP36PH, shown here. More commonly referred to as a dildo liner.
Named for the town in Newfoundland, I assume.
Which is beautiful you should go to.
Yeah, it's a very nice town.
Dependent on the whims of like Immigration Canada.
Coming in at an overall length of 70 feet and just under 16 feet tall, this made bucket-aided rinsing techniques rather difficult. We once again repeated to our manager that we needed to move the locomotive in order to properly rinse it, to which we received a rather annoyed dismissal of our request. We did our best, each taking turns chucking buckets of water onto the locomotive's phallic cowl until it was time to pack up and call it a day. The next day was a departure day, followed by the weekend, followed by an arrival day and another departure. It was 5 days later we could truly witness the fruits of our labor, or rather hear about it. 15 minutes into my shift, an audibly frantic voice erupted from my radio beckoning me over to the wash pit.
Oh boy.
It was there I found my manager frantically rubbing the locomotive windows, as where there once stood rinse water, there were now 0.5 millimeter deep cavities in the protective coating on each of the locomotive's windshield panels.
Anytime you get to like specialized applications of glass, I'm like, that's so much money. There's like one factory that makes these.
And it's out of business.
Yeah.
Needless to say, this was a suboptimal windshield condition that only worked to further enrage the hot-headed manager that originally put me to the task. To quickly sum it up, she had a long history of unprovoked negative interactions directed at myself and her other subordinates. So regardless of fault, this would still be a burden I'd have to bear. This incident, despite not being formally investigated by management, would soon later be cited in my dismissal following me bottoming out a poorly maintained forklift that myself and others had continuously reported to management for having, amongst other things, bald tires, no coolant, a broken coolant reservoir, and most concerning, a non-functioning parking brake.
Oh,
Incredible.
Join a union.
In the 2 weeks leading up to my dismissal, I consulted my agreement's union rep for what to do when likely facing termination.
Okay.
Ooh.
Instead of preparing a logical counter-argument and other evidence to support my innocence, he advised me to injure myself on the job to claim I was wrongfully terminated.
all right. Fuck it.
Union strong, baby. Okay.
Not all unions created equal. Incredible.
That's like, how do I get out of the fucking Pacific Theater of Operations shit? That's not...
Yeah.
Wow.
To wrap it up, trust your gut. If you ever find yourself in a situation where your decision will either result in thousands of dollars in damage or an insubordination write-up, it's probably best to step back and ponder updating your resume. And for the love of God, don't let your union rep be elected purely by no contest.
Yeah, no kidding.
No.
Yeah, get involved.
In an act of pure masochism, I've since hired on to another railway with its own host of problems, so I'm sure I'll have more stories to share.
The other Canadian railroad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me ramble and keeping me company on long drives to and from the rail yards. From
Welcome.
Anonymous.
Yeah, speaking of that, I saw a TikTok of a guy who was listening to us when his dash cam caught him getting in a car accident.
Yes. There have been several of those.
Yeah, there's
for
been a
some
few of
reason.
those, yeah.
I feel like if you crash your car while listening to us and it's not your fault, we should like be able to like issue you a shirt or something.
Yeah. I just want to say there does seem to be a pattern in the railroad of people pointing out problems and then getting fired for doing so.
Yep.
Curious. Some kind
Yeah,
of
I know.
safety averse culture.
It keeps happening.
The trouble is, we have to rise up and kick the suits out, and then run the railroad proper.
Yes.
Last time that opinion was mooted was like 1917 in Russia, and you know what? They were right to do it then too.
It worked.
This is the type of shit that leads railroad employees to start forming like infantry battalions.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you get to round up a load of people, and then you can send them off in front of their.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course,
I mean,
yes.
when the Soviet Union collapsed, the only thing that remained functioning was the public transit and the railways.
Oh, I mentioned
There
that in the
you go.
book.
Yeah.
Buy the book. Buy the book.
By the book.
By the
Yeah,
book.
by the book.
But more importantly, buy tour tickets.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
There are a
Hold
lot
on,
of
that's
seats to
supposed
fill
go
up.
on the next slide. That was safety third.
50-50 chance.
Shake hands with danger.
It's a real memory test there.
Our next episode will be on Chernobyl. Does anyone have any commercials before we go?
Yeah, buy some tickets to the fucking tour if you sort of like forgot to do that
Please.
already.
Hell
Buy multiple tickets. Buy them for your friends, your family.
Do like machine
your
politics
significant
shit.
other.
Like buy tickets for some guy. Like shave them, bring them around again. Buy some more tickets. Like
buy a ticket for your dog. Buy a ticket for your cat. We'd love to meet your cat.
We would.
Buy a
Just
ticket
whoever
for
you think you can get to the venue. You know, bring the whole polycule.
Hand them out on the street. Yeah, exactly. Bring the polycule. Bring the what other kinds of ethical non-monogamy are there?
Just imagining Times Square, but it's like that scene at the start of Death of Stalin. It's just like people.
Come and see a podcast live show.
Yeah, exactly. Bring your wives. Bring your concubines.
Anybody. We'll take anybody.
Yeah,
Bring your wives. Bring your wives' boyfriends. Like anybody
Yes.
you can get. Like.
Yep.
We'll have one section of chairs at the venue slightly separate for cucks.
Oh.
Bring give a ticket to your boss.
Yeah.
And then we will
Bring
definitely
your
execute.
entire like office. Do like a works outing to see us. I would actually love that. I think that would be sick.
Yeah, bring if you're in the military, bring your whole platoon.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Do
Yeah,
like
I
a
want that.
divisional level kind of like training outing
Yeah,
to come and see
Show
us.
up
buy
in
a ticket.
uniform to freak us out. It'll be funny.
Yeah, buy a ticket.
I'm not going to freak out. I'll salute you and thank you for your service in a dubiously ironic way.
Yes. If you're in the FBI or a member of
We'll
our
see you
law
soon.
enforcement community,
I genuinely, it will be an honor to meet some of my surveillance officers for the first time.
that'll
And
be fun.
something I've established before. I will sign anything you put in front of me.
If you're a firefighter, you could show up with the Dalmatian. That'd be cool.
True.
Yeah,
Mhm,
yeah. Buy a ticket. Give it to the Prime Minister of the
Noah-
UK. He
Noah
is easy to
uniformed
buy.
officer
If you work for the postal service, like
If you're a garbage man, bring the truck.
just you come prepared to do like show and tell for like whatever your job is, you know.
Yes, exactly. You could show up in a subway car.
True.
That'd
All
be
the
cool.
venues are transit accessible. We made sure of that.
Hell yeah.
No one's getting stranded in the middle of nowhere. Hopefully.
Nice.
Yeah, unless they sell the railroad halfway, like in midday.
Yeah.
Yeah. In which case, we just lead you on foot to the nearest like sort of like transit link.
You have to go on an expedition.
Like the Dodgers want you to do from.
Yeah, that's
from, like,
exactly what I was thinking of the Dodgers.
Yeah.
The
Good luck.
25-minute
walk
walk
from Chinatown to Dodger Stadium. Yeah. So yeah, buy tickets to that. Come
Yes.
to the library to talk. Buy Gareth's book.
Yes, please do. I've sold
Yes.
600 of them so far, which is apparently extremely good for a
That's
indie
money, yeah.
publisher
done.
first
nice.
time book. So yeah,
The book is
buy more. Let's see if-
called "How the Railways Will Fix the Future."
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting to tell people
Yes.
what it is. I just say buy the book and then tell people to Google the book
fucking
and see what
fuck
happens.
the
You know,
book,
how the rails will fix the
That's
future. Yeah.
Yeah,
Listen to
I
No
got
Gods, No
my
Mares.
copy.
It's new. It's very, very funny. It's extremely funny, in fact. Highly recommend it.
Thank you very much.
And I'm also getting very, very excited for robbery season on Kill James Bond. That I'm extremely excited about.
very soon. It's very soon. It's a matter of weeks away.
I'm excited.
And listen to 10,000 Losses as well.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's fun to drop in and I know nothing about sports, but I was a guest on there, and it's good fun just listening in and hearing about the sports.
Sometimes you talk about refrigerators being airdropped by Mossad.
Yeah, that's why your name on here is El Masri Refrigerated Appliance Assembly Corp. All right, let's wrap up.
All right.
I gotta-
That was the podcast. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.